The night my husband died, I learned something that would change the rest of my life. 11 days after his funeral, I stood on my parents' front porch with my 1-year-old twins asleep in the back seat of my car. I was 26 years old, broke, exhausted, and terrified. My rent was due. My savings were almost gone. And the future looked like a dark tunnel with no end. I was not asking for much. Just 3 weeks. A couch. A little time to figure out how to keep my children fed and safe. My mother opened the door, listened to me for less than a minute, then folded her arms and looked at me like I was a problem she wished would disappear. She told me that adults handle their own mistakes. She told me that raising 2 babies would be too much for them. Then she looked directly into my eyes and said the words I would never forget. "We cannot be your safety net anymore." Behind her, my father stared at the floor. My younger brother saw me standing there and quietly closed his bedroom door. I nodded because I could not trust myself to speak. Then I carried my sleeping babies back to the car while my mother watched from behind the screen door. Before I reached the driveway, the porch light went dark. That should have been the end of my story. Instead, it was the beginning. Halfway home, I pulled into a gas station and cried so hard I could barely breathe. Then I called the only person left in the world I trusted, my husband's mother, Evelyn. I was not calling to ask for help. I simply needed someone to hear my voice before I completely fell apart. She listened for 20 seconds before asking where I was. 40 minutes later, a pickup truck pulled into the gas station. Evelyn climbed out carrying a warm casserole dish wrapped in a towel. Her husband stepped out and quietly moved my children's car seats into their truck. Nobody asked questions. Nobody made me explain myself. Evelyn simply placed a hand on my shoulder and said 7 words that changed my life. "Set 2 more plates. They are family." I followed them home that night. Looking back now, I realized something important. The people who shared my blood had abandoned me. The people who shared my pain had saved me. Their ranch was small and struggling. The fences leaned. The barn leaked. Bills piled up faster than money came in, but they gave me a room. They gave my children safety. Most importantly, they gave me dignity. For weeks, I barely slept. During the day, I worked wherever I could. At night, I helped around the ranch. One afternoon, I noticed a young mare nobody wanted. She had a slight flaw in one leg. Buyers ignored her. Ranchers laughed at her. Some even suggested selling her for slaughter. But when I watched her move, I saw something nobody else noticed. She was special. I begged my father-in-law to give me 1 season to prove it. He agreed. That horse became my obsession. While my children slept, I studied breeding records. I researched bloodlines. I worked until my hands bled and my eyes burned. Most people saw a defective horse. I saw opportunity. A year later, I entered her in a small competition. Nobody expected much. Not even me. But when she stepped into the arena, something incredible happened. She dominated. When the results were announced, she finished near the top of the competition. For the first time since my husband's death, I felt hope. Not long after, an older woman approached me. Her name was Victoria Hart. In the horse industry, she was a legend. She had spent decades building successful breeding programs and making fortunes where others saw failure. After watching my horse perform, she asked me a question. "What else can you see that other people miss?" I answered honestly. I explained my breeding plans. I explained the genetics I believed could create something extraordinary. She listened carefully. Then she offered to invest. At first, I wanted to refuse. The last time I trusted people, I ended up standing on a dark porch with nowhere to go. But Victoria was different. Everything went into writing. Every agreement, every ownership right, every protection. That decision would eventually save me. Together, we built a breeding program around that mare. The first foal exceeded expectations. The second sold for even more. Then buyers started calling from other states, then from across the country. Within a few years, our little ranch had become one of the most respected programs in the industry. The bank stopped calling. The bills disappeared. The future finally opened, and that was when my family suddenly remembered I existed. My mother began calling more often. My brother wanted to reconnect. My father left emotional messages about family and second chances. At first, I wondered if they had changed. Then I accidentally received an email that answered every question. Buried inside an old conversation was a message written by my mother years earlier. She had called me a bad investment. She said helping me would have been throwing good money after bad. Then she wrote something I will never forget. Keep the relationship alive. If the ranch ever becomes successful, we may need access later. I read those words 3 times. Suddenly, everything made sense. The phone calls, the kindness, the fake concern. None of it was love. It was strategy. They had not forgotten me. They had simply been waiting to see whether I became valuable. That day, I made a promise to myself. I would never argue with them. I would never seek revenge. I would simply build my life so well that nobody could take it from me. Years passed. My twins grew into wonderful children. The breeding program exploded. Our horses became nationally recognized. Then one afternoon, a major corporation made an offer. $100 million. When I saw the number, my hands actually shook. Not because of the money, because I remembered the woman standing on a porch begging for a couch. I accepted the deal. Then I immediately began planning where every dollar would go. The largest portion went into trusts for my children. Another portion went to the people who saved my life. My in-laws. The ranch was transferred back into their names free and clear. No debt, no mortgage, no worries. Then I created a scholarship foundation in my late husband's memory to help struggling single parents pursue careers in equine science. Every important dollar was protected. Every document was signed. Every detail was finalized. Only then did the news become public. Within hours, my phone exploded. My mother said she had always believed in me. My brother talked about family unity. My father wanted a reunion. None of them knew the truth. There was nothing left for them to claim. The final chapter happened during a celebration at the ranch. Nearly 300 people attended: investors, neighbors, friends, employees, the people who had actually helped build the dream. My family arrived uninvited. They smiled for cameras, introduced themselves as my biggest supporters, acted like they had been there from the beginning. I watched quietly. Then I stepped onto the stage. I thanked everyone for coming. I spoke about loss, about struggle, about second chances. Then I announced the Scholarship Foundation. The crowd applauded. Next, I asked my in-laws to stand. They looked confused. Then I revealed that the ranch now belonged entirely to them, forever. The applause grew louder. People stood, some cried. Then I looked directly at my mother, father, and brother. The entire crowd fell silent, and I said one sentence. Family is not who shares your blood. Family is who shows up. My mother's smile vanished instantly. My brother turned pale. My father lowered his eyes. For a moment, nobody moved. Then my mother exploded. She accused me of humiliating the family. She demanded explanations. She talked about sacrifices that never happened. But nobody was listening anymore, because the truth was standing right there in front of everyone. The people who saved me sat in the front row. The people who abandoned me stood in the back. Eventually, they left. The celebration continued. Life moved forward. A few months later, their lawyer sent letters demanding money. Those letters failed. Every document was airtight. Every decision was final. They received nothing. Not because I hated them, because they had never earned it. Today, I live on a smaller ranch near the people who rescued me all those years ago. My children are thriving. The Scholarship Foundation helps families every year. The old mare still grazes peacefully in a field. Sometimes I sit on my porch at sunset and think about that night when my mother turned off the light. For years, I believed that was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Now I know it was the greatest gift. Because if that door had opened, I might never have found the people who truly loved me. I might never have built the life I have now, and I might never have learned the most valuable lesson of all. Real love never keeps score. Real love never calculates value. Real love simply sets another plate at the table and says, "You belong here." And sometimes the family that saves you is not the one you are born into. It is the one that chooses you when everyone else walks away.